So it was when I realised this that I decided that it really wasn't going to be good enough. If I was going to speak intelligently about religion, it really wasn't going to be good enough for me to just, reach for the weird bits of religion or the terrible bits of religion or the funny bits I remember from school. I was going to have to actually try and understand it. I was going to have to do research. So I went on Wikipedia. And I realised that actually all Abrahamic faith in some way takes some of its teachings and mythology from the Bible. So I thought, well, that's a good place to start. I'll read the Bible. So I did. Every day for about 6 months I sat down and I read through the thing. Now this was my first Bible. But I pretty quickly had to switch Bibles, because the trouble with this Bible is that it really looks like a Bible. And there's only so many times you can go into the same coffee shop at the same time, sit in the same seat, get this thing out, and make copious notes before you become something of a local character. And the attractive Polish women behind the bar start to refer to you as Bible guy! I've got to be honest, wasn't the look I was going for. Also, this thing does tend to start the wrong sort of night bus conversation. So before long, I switched to this Bible. Now the good thing about this Bible is that from a distance, you can't tell it's a Bible. It's only when you get up close that you realise it's actually like a fun cartoon Bible with all the lovely cartoon depictions of the adventures of God and Jesus. They've left out most of the genocide, but that's okay, I guess. So I read the whole thing. So what's my book report from the Bible? What's my review? Well, mixed, I would say. In a lot of ways, the Christians are right. This is a very good book, full of useful advice on how to live in a positive way. However, it's also a pretty bad book, full of horrific violence and general horror. And as I was going, I made a few notes on the good and bad book, and I compiled them into my very own good and bad book. I've been checking Operation U-Tree every day to make sure this is still okay. But it seems to be clean, for now. Okay. Let's start with the bad book. Ooh. Okay. So we'll start with a teaching from Leviticus. Leviticus 16. If a woman approaches an animal to have sex with it, kill both her and the animal. Yeah. Now I have a couple of problems with this. Firstly, is it really necessary to kill the animal? It's already having a pretty bad day. Secondly, was this really happening enough? But it required a specific law. I mean, I would have thought the sheer mechanics of a woman trying to have sex with like a bull or a chicken would just make this not that much of a big deal. But no, apparently it was rife. But I guess it's fine as long as there's a corresponding rule for men. It's probably there somewhere. I just missed it. Okay, so we'll have a quick reading now from the good book. And I'll be honest with you guys, these are less funny. But for the sake of balance, they have to be in the show. It's a fun thing to hear someone say, isn't it? Balance. Hey, get in here, he's talking about balance. Okay, so Ecclesiastes 10. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. That's your dick joke, not mine. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither working, nor toiling, nor planning, nor wisdom. Pretty hard to argue with that. If you find something you love, do it as much as you can. Even if you're doing it on the free fringe. So of course I'm oversimplifying. It's not just good and bad. There's also a tremendous amount of weird. For instance, I was expecting a lot of things when I read through the Bible. One thing I wasn't expecting was erotica. But here it is, like a centerfold, a little book called Song of Songs, which is essentially just a very long erotic poem. And it's brilliant for a lot of reasons. It's actually a really beautiful piece of writing, so I recommend you read it. But it's great as well because it gives you a wonderful insight into the world of biblical chat-up lines. Hi there, what's your name?
Joe.
Hey Joan. How's it going? It's great. So Joan, picture the scene. It's biblical times. We're by the watering hole. You've noticed me around. You like my beard. I've got a new donkey. And suddenly Joan and I start laying this on. Joan, your hair is like a flock of goats descending from the hills of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep just shorn, coming up from the washing. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built with courses of stone. Your breasts, I'm very sorry. Why am I calling this to him? I'm sorry, Joan. Your breasts are like two fawns, like two twin forms of gazelle that browse among the leaves. So, what do you think of the number? No, okay! Different time. Thanks very much, Joan. You really deserve this. Sorry, I forgot to give you that as well. Again, if you want your own sticker. Yeah, you know. So, I mean, that's just a weird thing that happens in the Bible, but there's also a lot of laws that are equally as weird, and they're maybe not quite as harmless as Song of Songs. Like, for instance, if you're currently wearing a green sticker, please stand up. Oh, shit. Guys, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but you're spiritually unclean. Not one of you has a beard, and that's a real problem. I'm going to need you to stand outside the village for like 15 days until the Levitical priest can come and bless you. Okay, have a seat. Okay, can everyone wearing a blue sticker please stand up? Oh, fuck. Okay. I'm sorry to tell you this, guys, but you're spiritually unclean. You have beards, but they're the wrong sort of beard. The problem is, at some point you trimmed your beard, which is, if anything, worse. So I'm going to need you to separate the fat from the entrails of a bull, and then burn it on a tabernacle. You do that? Alright. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers. By the way, I know that I'm guilty of this as well, but basically I've got bigger problems. Okay, so can everyone wearing a yellow sticker please stand up? Oh shit. Oh, okay. Guys, I'm really sorry. Totally spiritually unclean. You guys are wearing two kinds of fabric right now, which for some reason is a big problem. I don't even know what you can do. Just look on your way home, just kill something, okay? Have a seat. This next one is a bit personal, so I'm not going to ask you to stand up. But ladies, if you are menstruating right now, just know that you're bad. Okay. Now, obviously, those are some pretty wacky rules, but most religious people don't follow anymore. But in amongst those rules, there are other rules, like, for instance, a rule about how it's not okay to be gay, for instance. And those ones are still taken a little bit more seriously for some reason. But it's not just the rules in the Bible, it's the stories that have later had rules applied to them. Because there's plenty of tales that are just told in the Bible, and then significance has been placed on them over the years. A good example of this is the story of Onan. Now, Onan was a man whose brother tragically died in biblical times. And rather than see the family name die out, Onan's father decided to force Onan into a marriage with his dead brother's wife. Now, perhaps understandably, Onan was pretty hesitant about the idea of impregnating his dead brother's widow. So rather than complete inside her, he would spill his seed on the ground, wasting the precious gift of life that God had given him. So God killed him. Now that's just a story in the Bible, like any other, but over the years, mainly the Christians have taken that to believe as an example of the rule that all life-giving fluid should be considered sacred, and so semen should only be reserved for marital lovemaking, which has given rise to the universally popular Christian no masturbation policy. Which I've got to be honest, if I was a Christian, would cramp my style ever so slightly. It's not that I don't understand the principle. Of course I understand the principle. Life is sacred, therefore all life-giving fluid must also be considered sacred. Or at least too sacred to waste on a piece of soup and honey. It's not the logic. I have a problem with it. It's a scale. The average male ejaculation contains around 10 million living things. Do you know how much 10 million is, sir? It's a shitload. I can't make my brain think like that. I can't look at a handful or tissueful, if I'm feeling classy, of goo. I think that's 10 million living things. I can't do it. I can't make my brain work like that. Which, if you ask me, is where God made his mistake. Because if he really truly believed that masturbation was a sin, he wouldn't have made it 10 million living things. He would have made it one living thing. About this big, with a face. Because I don't mind telling you, if I had to look something in the eye, I would think twice. I'm not saying I'd never do it, but it would be saying for very special occasions. Sunday on notices, things like that. This show started quite highbrow, didn't it? It kind of went off the rails. Anyway.